All right, everybody, welcome to Golf Talk Live, Season 14, Episode 14. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we have a powerhouse lineup scheduled for you tonight. First up, of course, as always, is Coach's Corner, and we're going to kick things off with two of the best minds in instruction. PGA Master Professional Jon Hughes joins forces tonight with Jon Decker, the Director of Instruction at the Medallion Club in Ohio, to fix your swing flaws and simplify your on-course strategy. Then we're going to shift to our fitness segment to focus on the body with certified golf fitness instructor Bob Foreman as he drops by to share essential mobility and strength routines designed to build consistency and protect you from injury. And then finally, our featured guest tonight, we go inside the research lab with Scott Burnett, the head of research and development for BGT. He will reveal how advanced engineering, material science, and his experience creating over 100 patents are shaping the future of golf equipment. Are you ready? Let's begin by introducing tonight's Coach's Corner panel. First up, as I mentioned, is Jon Hughes. He is a PGA Master Professional of Instruction and the 2013 recipient of the PGA of America's Professional Development Award. And he's also the owner of Jon Hughes Golf, which is based in Orlando at the Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate. And with over 30 years of experience, Jon is also a Golf Tips Top 25 instructor and a recurring Top 100 teacher, and is world-renowned for his holistic approach for coaching, focusing on the individual's physical capabilities and mental approach. And he's recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame. You can get more information about Jon on his website, jonhughesgolf.com. Also joining the panel tonight is Jon Decker, and he is the Director of Instruction, as I mentioned, at the Medallion Club in Columbus, Ohio. He's also a top 25 instructor with Golf Tips magazine and a former head instructor at the Grand Cypress Academy of Golf in Orlando. And he was named back in 2015 and now again in 2026 the Southern Ohio Teacher of the Year, as well as the author of two great books, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, and Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. And he's also available for public speaking. And his website is deckergolf.com. You can get more information about Jon there. Guys, welcome to tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
Thank you, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. Always an honor.
I appreciate it. And again, hearty congratulations from both of us, Mr. Hughes, for getting into the Hall of Fame. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. The North Florida PGA Section Hall of Fame, to be exact. That happened a couple weeks ago. Myself, Bill Hughes, the longtime general manager at TPC Sawgrass, and Duke Butler, who's contributed a whole lot, not only to the PGA members and junior golf, but he's very instrumental in some of the initial items that actually created the PGA Tour back in the late 60s, early 70s. It was a really fun night. Had family, had friends, had my team there, and it's an honor. I don't view the Hall of Fame as putting me out to pasture. I got a lot more to do, and I let people know that evening. In not so subtle terms, but it's an honor nonetheless. I'm the 48th person in that Hall of Fame, and I'm honored to be there.
Well, you're definitely not in a pasture, but you are somewhere. You want to quickly tell everybody where you are tonight?
My home and residence during the summer, the Omni Homestead Resort, dating back to 1766, 10 years prior to the Declaration of Independence. Finishing up a 3-week stint here, and I'm back here in July for a week, August for about 10 days, and have another 3-week stint in September, October. It's a fantastic, very, very special place to be called the coach in residence.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, again, congratulations, Jon. All right. So here we're going to do this again, and I'm going to preface this a little bit. We've got some general questions that I'm going to ask each of you under a few different topics, and then we're going to get into our rapid fire questions where you have one sentence answer only is the maximum you're allowed to do. And if you cheat, we've got a trap door under your seat, and who knows where you're going to drop into. But so I just want to make sure everybody's on board with that. All right, so I'm going to start in the order that I introduced you, and I'm going to, for convenience for our listeners and viewers, I'm going to introduce you by your last name, as opposed, since we've got two Johns, even though they are spelt differently, I'm going to make sure that everybody knows.
Jon, H-O-F.
That's right, and J-O-N, that's right. I'm not even going to touch that one. All right, Mr. Hughes, I'm coming to you first and we're talking about this particular initial topic is tournament planning and preparation. So My question for you, John, is when a student has a tournament circled on their calendar, where should planning actually begin? And then what specific steps and evaluations should a golfer include in their practice sessions in the weeks leading up to the event? So there's really two in one
That
question.
that's a loaded question from many different angles. I know John still plays a lot of tournaments. My tournament days have been over for a while. And I've recently had that same question where I've asked other top 100 coaches, in particular Rick Sessinghouse earlier this week, as he and Colin Morikawa prepare for the U.S. Open. And one of the things that he said that's worth passing on is that if you're beating a lot of balls the week prior, you're not ready. And I thought that was very apropos. But to your question, when do you start prepping? As soon as the ink dries in the calendar, when you've put the tournament in there, I think a lot of people do that, but do it in such an anxious way that they're not preparing. They're preparing in a way that they're accustomed to, which is beating a lot of balls. And we're talking about the average amateur here, whether you're playing the member guest or member, the club championship, maybe the city or county championship. I would tell you it's not about beating balls. Your skills are your skills, and you've got to have those ready well ahead of time. I think more of the preparation should be about the what ifs. What if I'm in this situation, or what if my ball is here or there? What happens if I'm playing with somebody I don't like or haven't met and I feel uncomfortable with? What if I'm in the lead? How am I going to handle that? What if I play the worst round of my life? How am I going to handle that? And it's not psychological so much as it's preparing you for some of the inevitables. And are you prepared for that? Number one. I think the other thing is once you get your skills taken care of with your coach, I'm talking across the board, full swing, short game, putting, escape shots, specialty shots, that kind of thing. I think the one thing the average amateur fails to do is practice those skills under pressure. And the more you can practice your skills under pressure, making practice tougher than the actual tournament round, the better. And this goes whether you can shoot in the 70s or you're playing with a handicap at 22. It doesn't matter. If you can get those essential things done, if you're beating balls the week ahead of time, you're not ready. You might as well withdraw and get your money back. Let's start prepping the day you put it in the calendar. Let's get the skills done early so you can test those skills under pressure situations.
Well said. And nice lead into Mr. Decker's question as well. John, a lot of players head to the range, as John Hughes just mentioned, really just to beat balls before a tournament. How should a preparatory practice session be structured instead to truly simulate tournament conditions and pressure? So I'm going to put a twist on this because, as he alluded to, you're still playing some competitive golf. So throw yourself in the mix. How would you prepare? What would you do knowing that you've got an upcoming event? You've already got it circled on the calendar, as we said. What are you going to do, and what some of the steps that you're going to take in preparation for that event that maybe your students could benefit from that information?
Great question, Ted. Thank you again for having us on the show. And John, I look forward to tonight's discussion. When I put together my tournament schedule, it's usually in early January. And last year I played in 16 tournaments, and I'll probably play in about 16 section events, and tried to qualify for the Senior U.S. Open as well. That was something I had never tried before, so I tried that this year. What I basically do is I focus first of all on the things. I look at my stats from last year and I do an assessment. And like one of the things that I was really struggling with last year was my greens and regulation. So my driving was good. My short game in some areas was good. In other areas it wasn't. Like up and down percentage was not good, but my bunker percentage was good. And so I'd been the year prior to that, I was not good in bunker play. So I was working on my bunker play. And so what I try to always do is find my weaknesses first and work on those so that I can get my confidence up, that I know what I need to work on, and then I go from there. And the beating of golf balls, I don't like to hit a lot of golf balls. When I hit golf balls, I might hit for 25, 30 minutes. But I like to put myself in playing situations on the driving range, like visualizing shots, maybe a fade or a draw or a low shot or a high shot. I also spend a lot of time working on recovery shots, punch shots and awkward lies where you've got 1 foot in the bunker, 1 foot out of the bunker, uphill lies, downhill, all of those things that you're going to get on the golf course. Because like Jon said, if you're just beating golf balls on a driving range, and you're aiming at one target, you're really not creating the visualization skills that you need in your mind. It's one thing if you're taking a lesson and you're working on your grip or something like that. But if you're trying to prepare for tournaments, you need to put yourself in playing type situations. And then the next thing I've been doing, I've really ramped up, is playing more golf. Now, it's very difficult for me because I'm a PGA golf professional. I'm out in the sun all day long. At the end of the day, I might want to go play, but the golf course is packed. So I'm really trying to get out there, either arrive early to work and work on my game and play, or stay after work. And that's what I've been doing to get my playing up and try to play with members more, try to get out and play with different groups. Because you don't want to lose those skills. Hitting balls on the driving range can bring a false sense of security if you're just doing the same thing over and over. But for the listeners out there, the worst mistake that you can make is trying to take a lesson 2 days before the member guest. So, you need to, if you know everyone knows when their member guest is, that it's publicized well in advance. You need, if your member guest is in July, you need to be working on your game in January, February, March. If you're at a facility that you can't do that, as soon as the weather breaks and you can start working on your game, start working on it ahead of time. And like Bob Rotella says, and this is what I say to all my students, train it and then trust it. You train it and then trust it. And trusting is different than training. And so that's where the skills of being able to take what you learn on the driving range and being able to take them out on the golf course and then put them under tournament pressure, that's where all of that pays off down the road.
Yeah, those some great points, there, Jon, because you're exactly right. I think a lot of people try to cram everything in, the weeks leading up. They know about these events in many cases months in advance, and suddenly they're coming to, somebody like, Jon Hughes or yourself or myself, and they're saying, "Hey, I've got an event next week. What can you do?" Or I got this weekend we've got an event going on, and I want to be, sharp. And they start wanting to tinker around with their swing, so they're just asking for trouble. And as both of you had mentioned, just going out and beating balls, all morning long, hoping that you're going to be able to improve your outcome is just a waste of time. So you need to train for it, and then trust what you've got, and then worry about fixing anything that may need fixing after the event. Don't try to do it midstream, or don't try to, ramp things up ahead of time. If you don't feel that confident going into the event that you are going to have any sort of decent outcome, then maybe you need to sit this one out this year and wait till next year when you're a little bit better prepared. But great answers, guys, both of you. We're going to move on to the next topic. As I said, we're going to move things pretty quick tonight. The role of the coaching or teaching pro. Jon Hughes, I'm coming back to you. Beyond fixing swing flaws, what is the teaching pro or coach's primary role in preparing a student for an upcoming event? How do you help them mentally and strategically before they even tee off? So what is your role? We obviously know what they need to do. What are you going to do?
I think it's summed up in one word: support. I think all the great coaches, no matter what sport they're coaching, are there to support the players, there to support them physically, mentally, emotionally, any which way you can think of. And support comes in a lot of different forms and fashions. The one way I've heard it said, as far as leadership, is a great leader, a great coach is going to provide their people assets, training, education, resources, and blame the coach first before blaming the player. Lou Holtz is famous for saying that. Let's criticize the performance, not the performer. And when it comes to great coaching that I've had, not only in golf, but outside of golf, playing soccer years ago as a teenager, that was what I knew I could depend on my coaches for. They were good. They were in my corner supporting me. They were answering the questions that I had about almost anything. They were keeping me in line, not necessarily keeping me focused or keeping me concentrated. They were keeping me within a parameter, say within the sides of the road, and making sure I was going down this road that we both agreed this was the road I wanted to be on.
Mhm.
And I think when it comes to golf, there's particularly with some semi-competitive juniors, and I say that not with forked tongue, but by design. There's a lot of juniors, there's a lot of mini tour players out there who claim to be competitive and they want something. And when that coach is there to provide it, yet they're not doing their part because it's all about the golfer. There's only but so much the three of us can do for anyone. At some point, that coach is there not just to support, it's to remind that player, this is your goal. This is your need. This is your want. And we're here to help you. I'm here to help you. The rest of your team's here to help you. But you've got to help yourself. And we're sort of that checks and balances, not just support, but we have to be the checks and balances. When it comes to a junior, checks and balances includes tournament schedules and parents and all the other distractions. But when it comes to, say, the country club member trying to win the member guest, we're there to support you to do it, but we also have to remind you what's your priorities. Is this a priority? If it's low on the priority totem pole, then what you're doing is okay. And we have to, that's part of the support. But if it's higher on your totem pole, we've got to be the ones not to stoke the fire, but to remind you how to stoke your own fire.
Very interesting. I like that analogy. Some great points in there, and I think that's definitely something that the audience is going to benefit from. So well said, John. I appreciate it. Mr. Decker, I'm going to come to you. Same topic. Course management is huge in tournament play. How do you and your students break down a golf course to create an effective game plan, and how much of this prep should be done on the practice tee versus the actual course?
Well, the best way to, practice for a particular tournament course is to actually be on the course, because on the driving range, I mean, I can, if someone's telling me they're going to be playing in a tournament and I know the golf course, and, I might talk to my student about, okay, on these holes, you want to make sure and avoid this or use this club off the tee. It's a par 5 that you can't reach in 2 shots anyway. Why don't you hit a 3-wood off the tee? That kind of stuff I might discuss with them on the range. But the best place to actually learn a golf course is by playing the golf course, because then every golf course is a little bit different. The sand might be different. I'm always telling my students, one of the first things that you need to do, I don't care when you're playing a practice round, I don't care if you hit 18 greens in regulation, you need to be throwing a few balls in the bunkers, because the bunkers there might be different than the bunkers at your home course. And it's amazing. Green speeds are, if you're playing really high level competitive golf tournaments, green speeds are usually pretty similar, but sand can be totally different. And you need to get in there and experience that, because how many times have you gone and played a practice round and not hit in one bunker, and then you go in the tournament and then you get in 3 bunkers, and so that's something I learned early on as a young player, that you better get in the bunkers. You better give yourself some situations, just like for a par 5, for example. If it's a reachable par 5 for a better player, and they go for it in the practice round, well, you may not go for it in the tournament. Maybe you don't hit a great drive, so you need to work on your layup shot. You need to know where are you going to lay the ball up in the fairway, what distance gives you the best opportunity to attack pins. Those are things that you also want to pay attention to. I also spend a lot of time on lag putting, because one of the things I try to encourage all of my students to do is not go for pins, go for the middle of the green. Kathy Whitworth, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, they pretty much played to the middle of greens all day long. And they said Nicklaus actually said that winning majors was easier than winning regular tournaments, because so many people shot themselves out of the tournament because they were firing at pins. And so he just said, I'm just going to keep hitting in the middle of the greens. and lag putt, and every now and then on the par 5 I'll make a birdie and par people to death, and the next thing you know, he's winning tournaments. Tiger was the same way.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to play to the middle of the greens, you're going to have a lot of 25, 30, 40-foot putts. Well, nothing drives you. It can be more frustrating than to play a smart shot, hit it in the middle of the green, have a 30-footer, and then 3-putt. So if your lag putting is not good, that's another thing that you want to look for. And then, just when you're playing practice rounds on courses or you're dissecting courses, it's always good to talk to the pro or try to find someone that's a member there or someone that can give you some inside knowledge, because there's always one or two holes that they just for whatever reason, maybe it's over a hill and you can't really see where you're going, or it's a tricky tight hole and you can't figure out, should I hit a driver or hit a 4-iron? I mean, we've all been there where you can't figure out, maybe where's the right club. It's always good to get local knowledge. And then with today's technology, literally these websites, you go on a country club's website and they literally have every hole on there for you, describing the hole, pictures. Go through and do that over before you ever go to the golf course. So if it's a golf course that you really don't know that well, that way you have a better idea. This is what I'm in store for. I've had to do that before when I've gone on shotgun starts, and I know I'm starting on hole number 14. Well, I don't even know. I've never been to this course before. So I'll go on there, and that's a good way to know, okay, this is the dogleg right or dogleg left or whatever. So those are little things that you can do to make you a smarter player, because I can't tell you how many times I've hit really good shots on courses I don't know and gotten in trouble because I didn't know the golf course well enough. So learning to manage your game is knowing obviously where to hit it, but also where not to hit it, and basically understanding where bailout areas are in areas so that when you do get in trouble, you can kind of get back in position and go from there.
Yeah, you raised really two excellent points. The first one about the players real quickly, and then we'll move on. You mentioned Nicklaus and Tiger. Neither one of them were the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour, but they were certainly among the best managers on the tour. So they were able to manage their games such that if they got themselves into trouble, they knew how to get out, and they planned each shot a little bit differently. And conversely, you look at some of the best ball strikers on tour, they weren't winning as many majors or at all in some cases. So they were playing a lot smarter game, I think, even though they weren't always hitting it down the middle of the fairway or getting it up and down as maybe some of the other players were in certain situations. But their strategies were such that they could do the things that they needed to do. And as we know, Nicklaus won 18 and Tiger's was up to 15. So, I mean, These guys were doing something right. So I don't know. I think I would take their approach rather than worrying about how straight my shots are all the time. I think just getting it up and down as few strokes as possible would be a little bit more.
And don't forget about Kathy Whitworth. I mean, Kathy Whitworth, I used to work with her at Grand Cypress, and she said, I never fired at a pin. She said, I just hit it in the middle of the green. And that's a great way to hit a lot of greens in regulation. That to me is the most important stat other than scoring average. Yeah. If you can hit greens in regulation, it makes golf a lot easier than if you're missing greens.
Yeah, Kathy definitely was a great ambassador to the LPGA Tour for sure. So yeah, definitely don't want to overlook her. All right, the last of our regular questions before we get into the rapid fire is bucket list trips versus current abilities. So again, Mr. Hughes, I'm coming to you for this one first. Many golfers, John, book bucket list trips to iconic venues, but often struggle to enjoy them because many courses are built for better players. What should a 15 to 20 handicap golfer realistically consider when planning such a trip based on their current abilities?
Boy, it's like you guys are a fly on the wall when I'm at Cascades versus here at the old course. The Cascades course is perennially, I think it's one of only 5 to 8 courses that have always been ranked in the top 100 since the lists first came out. And when my clients come here, I tell them point blank, this is a big girl, big boy golf course, particularly hole number 5 and a couple of others. And I have to explain to them that the bucket list experience is awesome. You should go and do this. But why torture yourself from these tees back here where everybody else and what I think what you said is a very accepting phrase, but I think people take it too literally and they don't realistically understand their skills based on that. I'm not the highly skilled player. I'm not the person who can play from 7,800 yards. And I think the easiest way to go have a great time at your bucket list trip, whether it's here at Omni Homestead or you're going to South Africa or the UK or wherever it is, think of it this way. If a tour player was going to hit a driver and a 6-iron into a par 4, what tees are you playing at this bucket list place that allows you to play the same combination, a drive and a 6-iron? And I think if you live by that and choose the right tee boxes, you will have a blast. You'll have a ton of fun. You won't torture yourself. You won't be in the fairway bunker that you can't climb in or out of. Uh, there's something to be said about that. And when I can get the clients to understand that, not just on a 7,200 yard course, but the old course is 6,000 yards, but it's got some steep slopes that make it play longer. All of a sudden, the game's enjoyable. I had someone here last week. Also, the thing I would say is take an extra club. Sometimes your ego gets in the way and you're going, wow, this is 150. I can hit my 8-iron. Well, maybe you're too tense and tight and anxious about playing this gorgeous bucket list place, and 8-iron doesn't go 150, it goes 15 or it goes something else. To John's point, let's make sure you hit the middle of the greens. Let's make sure you take enough club to do that, to give yourself an opportunity based on your current skill level, based on what is realistically possible for you that day. And I think if you take that kind of mindset, play the right tees, give yourself some opportunities, don't force issues. I know people, that's their only mission as a golfer. I'm going to play all the top 100s I can. I'm going to go wherever it is.
Mhm.
But I find that the ones who truly enjoy it take those two strategies to heart and use them effectively.
Yeah, not to, inject Jack back into the conversation, but Nicholas famously said, move up a tee box, even 2 tee boxes, and learn to play. He said, as he got older, obviously in a professional tournament, it's a little bit different, but he said he started doing that when he would just go out and play for fun because he knew that he was not able to hit it as far and play as confidently. I mean, he doesn't play as much obviously now as he used to be, but he was one of the ones that really coined that phrase in the beginning, was to move up a little bit. And I think people need to do that definitely if they want to play some bucket list course. I'm a firm believer, play whatever courses you want, but be smart about it.
Yep.
Mr. Decker, I'm coming to you for the last one here, and then we're going to hit into our rapid fire. From a swing mechanics and course management perspective, how should an amateur adjust their expectations and equipment when playing a famous course they aren't used to? So very similar to what I gave John Hughes, but with a little bit of a twist. So based on, again, abilities, what do you recommend? What are your recommendations?
Well, first of all, I think it's always good to get a caddy. I think I would recommend that start there, because the caddy will know every nook and cranny of that golf course. They'll help you to read the greens. I would spend a lot of time, working on the putting green before you get there, obviously, to get a feel for the speed of the greens. But as far as the mechanics, like, there's not anything I would try to do differently mechanically, whether I'm playing at a golf course I've never seen or playing the golf course I play every day. So I think, I think that would be an area that I would start at first, is just, trying to talk to a caddy, or have a caddy if you have a caddy. If you don't have a caddy, then you do as much research as you can before you get there, would be the other thing. But I don't really have any other things to add to that, because I think it's based on everyone's situation is totally different. As far as expectations go, I think that, like John said, I think it's important that you have fun and you play the appropriate tees. That to me is very, very well said, because I think we all have trouble sometime moving forward. I didn't, when I become a senior, I didn't have any issues moving forward. I'd played the tips my whole life pretty much, and I was done with that. And so I didn't have a problem moving up it as well. And then, from the equipment standpoint, you may want to look at, adding, for example, if you go to a golf course and you don't have a lob wedge, or if you don't have a lob wedge, the golf course has really deep rough or has really deep bunkers, you may want to consider adding a lob wedge or adding an extra fairway wood or hybrid for situations, on courses that maybe are longer than you're used to. I know the people that went over to Ireland. I have several students. I have a student that's leaving tomorrow, and I have a student I taught today who just got back. And they told me, it's raining sideways over there. So you need to make sure you got rain gear, you got all that stuff, because if you go ill prepared from a clothing standpoint to a golf course in Ireland, you are going to have a miserable time, or you're going to spend a ton of money at their pro shop having to buy things that you maybe should have taken to begin with. So you need to be prepared. Hand warmers, all that stuff that, the foul weather gear, all that stuff, you want to make sure and have all that as well.
Yeah, great points on the equipment, particularly. Don't be afraid to pull out some of those longer irons. You don't necessarily have to have a 4 or even a 5 iron in your bag. Maybe replace it with a hybrid, and maybe add an extra wedge, whether it be a lob wedge or otherwise, in there to give yourself a little better opportunity. So great answers tonight, guys, on our main portion of Coach's Corner. Now we're going to move into one of my favorite aspects of the discussion, and that is into the rapid fire questions. So again, 1 sentence max only. And if we have time, I may go back into one of the points or one of the questions, give you a little bit more time to expand if we have some time. But Hughes, I'm coming to you first. What is the biggest mistake golfers make during a pre-tournament warm-up?
Thinking they're practicing versus warming up.
Okay, good one. Decker, name one metric a player must track during a practice round.
What they're going to tee off with on every hole, whether it's driver, 3-wood hybrid.
Okay. Hughes, what is the absolute maximum number of swing thoughts allowed during a tournament?
1.
I like that. Decker, what is the ideal timeline to start preparing for a major tournament? We kind of talked about that one, so I'm going to skip that one because we kind of answered that in the early segment. So I'll give you this one instead. What is the ultimate bucket list golf course every amateur should play once?
I would say Pebble Beach.
Okay, I like that. Hughes, what is the single best drill to simulate tournament pressure on the range?
Any type of scrimmage that tests all your skills.
Ooh, you just squeaked it into that. That was a little long sentence, but I'll give you that one.
There was a comma in there.
I know.
I've used semicolons before.
All right, Decker, should a golfer ever change their equipment right before a big event?
No.
Okay. Hughes, what is the number one skill needed to survive a tough bucket list course? So what, if nothing else, what skills should they definitely need to be a little better on if they want to play that tough bucket list course?
Patience.
Okay. I like that one.
That is a skill.
Yeah, definitely. A little different. I was expecting some part of the game, but that's part of the game too. The mental game is definitely part, but patience is definitely one too. Decker, what is the best piece of advice for a golfer dealing with first tee jitters?
Have fun. It's expected.
Okay. And finally,
get over it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that important.
And finally, John Hughes, what is the most overlooked part of a player's tournament preparation? What do they tend to overlook the most in preparation?
Short game, short game, short game.
All right. Sounds good. We got a minute or two left. So if you guys, is there any one of the questions that I'll go to Decker first? Is there one you want to go back on and just give a little bit extra information on, or are you good?
Yeah, you asked about the equipment and what I was now. If that means, for example, you're going to a golf course and you're going to add a hybrid and you're going to take a long iron out, that I have no problem with, because every golf course is different.
Yeah.
I was talking about the way I was interpreting the question would be like, okay, I'm going to get a new I'm
Right.
going to go get a driver fitting, the week before, and I'm going to put this new driver in my bag, or a new putter. I don't like that. Now, if you're doing it out maybe 3-4 weeks, I have no problem with that. But to do it a day or two before a tournament, I just think that you're asking for trouble if you do that.
I agree. And John Hughes, what about you? Is there any question that I asked? If you need me to repeat anything, I'm happy to do that you would like to expand a little bit on.
I rest my case.
All right. He's going to status quo. I like that. That's some confidence there. Let me tell you, I'm good with everything I said. I like that. All right. I'm going to give each of you a moment or two. Hughes, I'll let you start first. Let the folks know where they can get a hold of you for the next little while and the best way to reach out.
Number one, Jon Decker. Thank you as always entertaining. I always like trying to catch up and make you smile. It's a tough act to do, but I always find a way to do it.
Yep.
Ted Odorico, 13 years of an opportunity. Thank you. Appreciate that. Also want to thank my hosts here on the Homestead. They're absolutely brilliant, really special people. You can find me here through next Monday. Again, I'll be back here in July, August, September, October. You can find those dates of availability through my website, johnhughesgolf.com. Look for the Homestead location site, and all the information is there. And a reminder of my book, Instant Golf Improvement, the 6 Pillars of Better Performance. I think a lot of there you go. Thank you. That's the one I signed for you. Is that the extra copy?
That's the sign. Signed one.
There you go. The premise to the book, and I've always said this, it was a frustration on my behalf of really trying to dummy things down for people who did not want to practice. And we're out here shooting a lot of video for the book right now that should make its way to the general public here in the next couple of months. But at the same time, everything we talk about on this show addresses one of those first 5 pillars. And I think if people took that to heart, the game's very, very hard, but how can the 3 of us help you simplify it? And if you're interested in simplifying the game, it's a great book.
Very good. And Mr. Decker, how can you be reached out?
Well, first of all, Ted, thank you again for having us on, this opportunity to be on. I love coming on every month, and I really appreciate it. And John, as always, thank you and congratulations again on the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
That's very well deserved. I was a member of the North Florida section for 12 years, so I know what a great honor that is, and that is a very good section. So I'm congratulations again. For the listeners out there, if you want to reach me, please go to deckergolf.com. I'm also available on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram if you're on social media. I have 2 books. I'm a Christian author, so I'm trying to develop a golf ministry with what I do. And so my books are Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, and Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. And so all of my books incorporate scripture, golf, and life stories, and try to show how they are all related. And I'm also available for speaking engagements. I do a lot of public speaking. And if you would like a speaker for a golf tournament or for a church event or a fundraiser or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me again on deckergolf.com. My contact information is on there. But thank you, guys. I really enjoyed it. It's great time tonight.
I appreciate it. And just a quick note, John's books are actually behind his head. That's why I didn't hold yours up, John. I didn't need
That's
to.
Fine.
That's a heavy lift.
Yeah, it's a heavy lift. Yeah. But exactly. There you go. You just need to raise your palms up a little bit. Well, guys, as always, thank you very much. I mean that sincerely. Just a quick note to Mr. Hughes, 14 years, buddy, not 13.
Well, I jumped in at the end of the first one. That's why it's 13
All
for
right,
me.
for coaches, that's for Coach's Corner. Okay,
the COVID year didn't count. That's the reason.
That's right.
Well, I thought I came in before COVID.
Yeah.
Well, that we'll forget about that 1 year. So,
well, when you get in the Hall of Fame, your mind kind of goes a little bit. So, all right, well, guys, I'm just teasing. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you as always for bringing your best. I love having both of you on the Coaches Corner panel. It's been a lot of fun over the years, and I hope we continue to have more fun. And I like introducing some new things. This rapid fire thing, I'm going to make it even zip it up a little bit more as the season goes on. But thank you guys always for coming on and having a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing you guys the next time you're scheduled for the panel discussions. All right, we're just getting started here on Golf Talk Live. Stick around. We have plenty more expert advice coming your way right after this short break from our sponsors. We'll be right back.